How you doing? Are you in Miami right now?
Yeah, I'm in Miami. Just got back from Vegas, and the weather's getting nice and crispy.
That's right, man. I was lucky enough to be on a vacation in Hawaii last week and then got a stark reminder of where we're at when I came back to New York. And it's like, oh, it's time for my winter coat again. Like, we're there.
Yeah, I don't miss those winter days.
No, man. I just wanted to ask really quick off the bat. You just played at Nebula. That's a obviously brand spanking new club. What was that like? How was it? How was the crowd?
I think that it has a lot of potential. It's got a lot of potential, and it's needed in New York City. Honestly, like people are tired of driving all the way out to Brooklyn to have a dance. You know what I mean? So if they can keep building up on the night that we had and keep those people coming in and getting the good dance crowd, I think it's got a lot of potential. It's a nice room. It's a big dance floor, and I hope that they continue on with this plan.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just want to give you a little introduction for those watching. I'm here right now with Rony Seikaly. You have such an incredible story. Obviously, kind of in preparing for this, I didn't really know where to start because there's a lot of things to talk about. For those that don't know, you were one of the first very successful European players to make it to the NBA, first person to ever be drafted by the Miami Heat. A 12-year career, great numbers, most improved player. But obviously, we're really primarily here to talk about your music. And, I just think that over the years, listening through your tracks and everything you've put out, it seems like you've had some progression, maybe some more house in the beginning, recently, a lot more of the melodic influence. I'm wondering if you could just give us a little background on kind of who influences you musically and what direction you're hoping to go with your music.
Um, it's a great question because I've made music for many years, and I would always give them out to different labels, and the labels would say, "We like the music, but it just does not fit into our catalog." And I knew that I kind of had like a different sound that wouldn't fit into many people's catalog. So getting my tracks out there was very difficult. And then I decided, you know what? Somehow my tracks work when I play live, but no label wants them. So I just didn't understand what the problem was. So I said, let me start my own label and put out my own tracks and put the music that I'm feeling at that moment and see if that works. And that's exactly the path I took in making music that resonates to me and how I perceive music. This is my take on it. It's not, it's very nichey. It's not for everybody. It's a different sound. It's, I understand that music is very subjective. It's to some people it's amazing, and to some people maybe it's not for them. But I totally get that, and I won't stop doing what I do.
Absolutely. I think you've often discussed that initially beginning your career, you had some kind of trepidation. You didn't want people to think you were DJing for fame. We've seen a lot of people just kind of jump into this world because it's like an easy paycheck and it looks cool. Obviously, you have more passion than that. And you have this kind of amazing story of turning your childhood garage into a club. I think if there's any doubts, it's like that should squash that. But could you just kind of tell us about that time in your life and when you maybe first discovered that house music was really a passion for you?
Music was always a passion for me. It was a passion for me before basketball was. I played basketball later on. I was kind of a late bloomer, but as far as music concerned, I started playing music. And I built this club in my parents' garage. And, I had the early disco influence, R&B, a little bit of classical music from what I would hear from what my parents were playing. Music has been part of my life. even during the NBA, I always had a club at my house, and I would play music for my friends. I would play music, and nothing has actually changed. I've always had a club in my house, and I would always play music for my friends. And house music was always, disco was kind of the beginning that turned into house music, and it's morphed into many, many different genres of house music, but that's where the original kind of music came from. And so I until today, I still have a club in my house, and I still play music for my friends, and that's what I love mostly. And I never really wanted to kind of play out and get judged, and people saying, "What the fuck is this guy doing?" I'm sorry, well, what the hell is this guy doing? Why is he decided to be a DJ? Does he miss the limelight? And honestly, like, that's the last thing I miss. I don't miss the limelight. I don't miss being judged. I don't miss the travel. I don't miss those lonely nights in hotels. So it doesn't really resonate to me in any way, but for the love of music. And Eric Murillo, may he rest in peace, about 10, 15 years ago, used to come to my house to listen to me at my house. And he says, "Ronnie, you need to play out. You've got a different style. You've got a different sound, and you need to play out. You need to let people hear your sound." And he was the one that kind of pushed me to get into this. And, I really was never sure whether I really wanted to do this publicly. I just didn't miss being judged, and I still don't. And that's why I know that I have a certain style of music, and it's not going to resonate with everybody. But when it does resonate with these people, they actually love it. And I'm here to put a few happy smiles on the dance floor, and to kind of bring back the energy that we had back in the 90s, 2000, where the club was to go dance and to go have fun and to smile and take pictures and of celebration, of laughter, of joy. Somehow music turned into pull out your cell phone and take videos of the DJ that's playing and posting it, and the vibe is gone. What happened to the dancing part? And that's where I kind of navigate, or that's where I traffic. I love to be that DJ that brings a party together and turn it into a party instead of a kind of DJ influenced. This guy is playing. If there could be curtains, I would close the curtains and just let people enjoy the music and forget what DJ is playing, and let the music do the talking and not the name.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think as it's just evolved over the years, especially obviously as you kind of alluded to with the EDM boom, it's like it's become this very forward facing, flashy, who has the most lasers and fire and fireworks. And it's like, that's not really what we're here for. But you've had the opportunity, obviously, to live in Miami for, quite a long time. And as you just mentioned, hosting a lot of parties on your own. But I'm just wondering, how have you kind of seen the scene in Miami grow and develop in the time you've lived there?
I've seen it. I've seen it go from going to space as a client was a dangerous proposition back in the 2000s. It was in kind of worst neighborhoods of Miami. People thought space was for crazy people, to now being one of the best clubs in the world, and all the VIPs fighting for a table, and everybody fighting for some real estate on the dance floor. So I've seen the transition. So music has come a long way in Miami, and it's the influence of all these DJs moving to Miami, of all these people coming here, and it's become one of the hubs of the US. I think that if you ask any DJ where he would like to play in the US, not festival, but as a club, it's got to be space.
Yeah, I mean, the way it's developed, and honestly, I mean, the talent that they've just brought in, it's like anybody who's anybody seems to be playing there. And it's nice. I had the opportunity to go to 3 Points a couple weeks ago. And, again, just another excellently curated festival that's kind of stepped out of the shadow of Ultra, which felt a little like overwhelming at times. I know somebody that you kind of built a relationship in your Miami days, and obviously still was Diddy, and you have a track coming out with him, I think this week.
Yeah.
I was able to take a listen to it. It's really awesome. Looking forward to everybody to hear it. But can you just tell us kind of, how that came about and, what it means to you to put out a track with somebody like that?
I've gone, Diddy has come to my house so many times to listen to me play at my house in private. And my dream was always to kind of have some influence of hip hop or R&B or something like this in the house music, where the two can blend, but without moving too much on either side, keeping it underground, but just kind of a little touch of that rap. And he's got such a distinct voice that I just, I never wanted to push my friendship and say, hey, I want to do a track with you or something like this. But at some point, I just we were just chatting, and I said to him, can I use some vocals from you on the track? And then he said to me, well, we're gonna have to get into the studio, and I'm gonna push you, and I'm gonna make sure that it's what I want and all that stuff. So he then sent me a text message. A voice message, telling me the same kind of thing. Like we've been talking about this for so long, and I'm so happy that it's finally happening, and I can't wait. And, it's all about the groove and stuff like that. And then I took that voice message and just kind of put it on the track itself. And it was kind of fit perfectly, because it's my story with him. And that's the story I wanted. It was a personal message to me. That was the story of how our friendship is, and what how we got to this point. So what he said is exactly what the real story is. And then I took some snippets from a previous track he did, and I splashed that around and sent it to him. And I said, what do you think? He's like, love it. Go with it. I did 2 of them, actually. And the first one is going to get released this week, and the other one will be released with the album.
That's amazing. Wow. So he didn't even have to come into the studio. You just got him on the voicemail. Super authentic.
I got the voicemail, and I said, you know what? I can work with this.
So you're saying, are you putting an album out, or did you mean for him?
I'm sorry?
Are you putting an album out? Was that what you meant?
Yeah. I'm putting an album out in March. So wow. These are releases. These are singles from the album. I'm releasing, I think, 6 or 7 tracks, just as kind of a bonus singles, and then we'll release the whole album in March or April.
That's awesome. Is there any album? Oh wow! Is there anyone else that you've collaborated with on it?
No other producers or anything like this. It's more singers and nobody as famous as Diddy, that's for sure.
Well, he's a hard one to top. Just in terms of the production side, you've had, again, as I mentioned, like you've put out a lot of music over the last decade, and you've had some really high level collaborators, Diddy aside. You've worked with people like Black Circle, Harry Romero, Bedouin, most recently Sasha. I mean, it's really like a murderer's row. And I'm just curious, for you, obviously, as someone who's passionate about this music, when did you really make that decision to start producing music? And, in general, how do you connect with some of these people who, have been doing it for a really long time?
So in 2009, 2010, Eric Murillo pushed me to start making music. He said, if you're not going to play out, at least learn how to make music so you can start making me music. And that's exactly how it started. I started sitting next to producers and next to people to see and to be taught how to put this together. I was always more of on the creative side than on the technical side, and I just I started making music for Subliminal, and it was music that Eric wanted, but not necessarily music that I would play, and that was the kind of the problem with it. Like, I would make a lot of music, but it's not music that I would necessarily play, but he wanted it, so I did it for him. And then at some point I had to turn the corner, and and then that's when I started making music that I felt. And that's the music that was kind of getting rejected everywhere until I started doing my own label and putting it out. And then, we've had numerous, I'm talking about, we've been in, maybe this is our second or our third year, and we've had probably 20 or 30 in the top 100.
Yeah, no, it's been amazing. And again, just kind of how your sound has progressed has been great. I'm wondering, I think, the people you've collaborated with seem to be more in line with kind of the direction you're going. Is there anyone that you really hope to work with kind of in the near future?
As I said, the album's coming out in March or April, and I've got remixes on every one of those tracks by amazing producers that are on the other scale of the type of music that I play, which is Paco Osuna,
Oh wow,
Joseph Capriati. And Joseph Capriati is a great friend of mine. I love him. I love his music, and he's doing a remix for me as well. So I feel like my music is kind of a blend. It doesn't have a certain genre. It's a blend of every genre and all my experiences. I kind of put them into the track. So if you have to, if you kind of, I'm not sure what genre it is, because a lot of people say, what kind of music is this? And I can't, no, I don't know how to coin it. I don't know how to, what to call it. It's melodic. Yes, it's melodic, but it's not melodic techno, and it's not really, it's kind of, it's in the middle between deep tech and progressive house. It's somewhere, but not EDM progressive, old school progressive, Sasha and Digweed progressive. So it's somewhere in that cross with a hint of house music, vintage, and kind of new house. And that's kind of the music that inspires me, is to be different and to consistently evolve. I don't want to get stuck in a certain sound. And that's why what you hear 10 years ago is, and what you hear today is just kind of me evolving into where I feel that the sound is needed most. And, as I'm continue making music, I feel that the music continues to change, and I'm just going to keep following it as far as it goes. And when people stop liking the music, then I'll stop making it.
We got to see the Rony Seikaly Boris Brescia collab. I think that would be something special. You've talked a lot about kind of the radio show that you host, and I think it's one of these things that people who listen, like myself, probably take for granted. It's like, oh, you put it out every week or every 2 weeks. It can't be that hard. But as you or anybody that does something like that knows, it is, it's a lot of work. You're trying to make it clean. You're trying to make sure all the tracks are right. Can you just kind of take us through, what your standard preparation is for producing the show?
So the radio show on Sirius XM lasted about 8 years, and they wanted a mix every week. And it was so popular that they started playing it on the Chill channel as well. So I had 4 hours a week on Sirius XM, and the work started getting more and more tiring, and it just took a lot of my time. As much as I love doing it, it was just, at the end, it was very, very hard to find 11 or 12 tracks a week. I didn't want to start diluting the product and putting in a couple of good tracks and a couple of bad tracks. So I wanted to kind of stop before the brand got diluted, and they totally understood that. But the funny thing is at the time that I started, playing this style of music, EDM was at its peak. And I was kind of competing with this EDM other shows and stuff like that. So my hour on that on that channel was sandwiched between EDM music. So I carved a little niche and found these fans that kind of loved that music. And so I had a great run of 8 years. But honestly, like, if people think that it's not hard work to find 12 to 14 tracks a week and not repeat one single one week on week for 8 years, they don't know how, they don't know anything about music.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's funny. Like I DJ just for fun, and one of my friends was like, "Hey, can you come play my birthday party this Friday?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, okay. I need to put together a playlist. Like, what's the theme? What kind of music do you want? Am I downloading new things? Like, what are the new tracks?" It is a job. I mean, it is a job. It's fun, but it's certainly work. I just want to transition really quick. Obviously, I can't talk to you without asking a little bit about the basketball side of things. I read this story that you told about how you first really picked it up when you were in Greece and you went to buy sneakers, and the shop owner had played and he was like, "This guy has size, let's make this happen." Can you just take us through kind of the first few years of your youth career and when you realized that maybe this could actually be something?
There is, I really believe that, somehow you're kind of destined to go where you're supposed to go. And honestly, like, walking into that sneaker shop, he was the only guy that sold size 15, 16 at the time sneakers in Greece. So I walk into the store and the guy probably is never there and happens to be there at that time. And, I got lucky being at the right place at the right time for a guy to come and tell me, "Listen, I want you to come." This was the first division of the best team in basketball in Greece. And he was one of the best players in Greece and a legend in basketball. So he pulled me under his wing and he's like, "Come over and let's see what we can do." And at first he did this blindly. He didn't know what kind of athlete I was. He just saw my size and he saw my lankiness. And he says, let's see what this guy can do. But honestly, I was always a great athlete. I played soccer, volleyball, track and field. I mean, I snow skied, I water skied. I did every single sport under the sun except for basketball. And I didn't want to play basketball because everybody wanted me to play basketball because I was tall. And I kind of held off until this guy, kind of pulled me in. And then as soon as I got on the court and he started explaining to me how to, let's see what you can do and stuff. He just saw the athletic ability. And he was like, "You're not going anywhere. We're going to work, this is like a diamond in the rough. There's a lot of sanding, whatever it is that's going to go on, but we're going to get you there." And it's funny because when you play a sport and every day that you play that sport, you feel like you're getting so much better. It's not like where you kind of, it's so hard to get better or it's hard to improve. It's every day I was going by leaps and I was getting better and better and better. But my basis and my foundation was athleticism. So I just needed to learn how to play the game. And that's how it started. And, and from there, at first these guys were pushing me around and kicking my ass. And in 6 weeks to 8 weeks, I was kicking their ass. And that competition was not good enough for me anymore. So I needed to find better competition. And that's when I came to the States and said, "You know what? I'll find better competition here." And then everybody in Greece told me, "You're crazy to go there. You will never make it. These guys will eat you up alive." And that was music to my ears because I love to be the underdog. I love for people to say I can't do something. And that's exactly how it developed. And then, I came to the US, didn't know anything about anything, and got myself into Syracuse. And that was the journey, how the journey started. But honestly, like, looking back, if you tell me that I have to do the whole thing back again, I would tell you no thanks. It was just like, when you're young, you don't really think about the pressure and everything that comes with it. Now I look at the games and I see these like 20, 30,000 people in stadiums, and I'm like, how the hell did I play in front of all these people?
And more than that, I mean, I think you had the opportunity like to play against Jordan, during one of those runs. I mean, I can't even imagine. But just because you mentioned it with the age thing, you had this pretty illustrious college career, going down as like one of the all-time greats at Syracuse. And I don't know how much you follow basketball anymore, but I'm sure, it's such a young league now. Guys are just told like 1 year in college, that's it. When you entered the league, you were like 23 years old. You're more of an adult. Could you imagine kind of now joining the league at age 19 and being thrust into that lifestyle?
I think it's the biggest mistake. And I totally understand the financial side of it. They want to take care of their families and they want to take care of themselves. And, they've had it rough so far. And the quicker they get the money, the better it is. But unfortunately, with that comes no education. And no education to do what with all that money. So you end up hiring your cousin that has no idea about business and hiring people from your family that have no idea about how to make money or save money to run your business. And that's where the problem starts. So you're kind of an uneducated, super rich guy. And now you've got to educate yourself to figure out how am I going to save this money and let it sit and let it last me for the rest of my life. And that's, when you spend 4 years in college and you're actually going to class, you'll understand how important it is, to maintain the money that you make and to save properly and to understand what taxes mean. And, you get a paycheck. 50%, you can cut that paycheck in half and send half of it to the IRS, and then you've got another half. Now you can spend that half on your cars and on your boats and on your houses and all that stuff, and you'll be broke by the time you finish your career. And my thing would be is like, that other half, you should slice that in thirds. A third goes into your lifestyle, a third goes into investments, and a third is, you actually try to start a business and do something that's going to last you for a long time. When you're spending the majority of it on depreciating assets, that's why what is it, like 60 or 70% of athletes are bankrupt within 3.5 years of retiring, and that's the emphasis that I would, if these kids want to leave college at 19, and I understand they want the money, but please educate yourself. Don't trust anybody. Don't listen to anybody. Educate yourself and do things yourself, and that's, I would love to, the NBA does a great job about this. And they used to bring ex-athletes to our games or to our practices. And then, at some point in practice breaks up and we have a meeting with these ex and NBA players. And these NBA players would stand there in front of all of us and tell us their stories. Guys, save your money. Don't spend your money. Save your money. Do this. Don't be like me. Do this. No. These guys are not listening to us. Not one guy is listening to this NBA guy giving them advice. And I can only imagine in today's world, they're making so much money. They think that they'll be good forever, but easy come, easy go. It's all it's all relevant. If it's 3 zeros and you're spending 3 zeros more, it's the same thing. You're going to end up losing your money.
Yeah, there's this great story that Shaq tells of like, what did you do with your first NBA paycheck? And he thought that he had $1 million, and he goes out and, buys a car for everybody in his family. And then his accountant calls him and is like, hey man, you can't afford this. You're broke. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you just gave up 40% of that to the IRS. So always remember that. And I think the tax thing, all of it, it's tough. And I can't imagine being 19 and, getting that kind of money. And I think your perspective on it is great. I just want to kind of closing out here. I just wanted to ask you a little. I saw you just posted on Instagram about what's going on in Lebanon, and you were kind of posting a call to vote, and for people to be active. I'm wondering if you could just kind of tell us a little bit about what's happening there and how you hope to use your voice.
I mean, Lebanon has been has had the same politicians running the country since I left the country 40 years ago, and I think they have wiped it clean. There is absolutely nothing that they've left for the people. They've squeezed out every drop out of that towel, with stealing money and and taking advantage of their power. And it's time for them to go. It's time for them. It's time for a young, open-minded to take us into the future, because the future right now is with these politicians that is not going anywhere. They're just looking out for their own selves and their pockets and their families, and that's it. They're not looking out for their people in the country. They don't care where the country goes as long as their pockets are full.
Absolutely. No, and I think it's really important for somebody with your platform to say something. And again, like, I saw that on your Instagram and I immediately started doing some research and trying to understand what's going on. So I appreciate that. And, I just want to say thank you for taking the time today and coming in. The single is out Friday, if I'm not mistaken. That's going to be big. And the album is out in March. So we're really looking forward to it, man. And thank you so much.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Awesome. You have a good one.
Take care. Thank you.